What's up, all Power Ass Crew? Today's video we're working on my 91. I've been having some brake issues. Front caliper, sometimes I push my brake and the caliper doesn't want to turn loose. So I don't remember how many years I've had this rig right here. I'd have to go back and look at my past YouTube videos to see my very first video to kind of get a date as to when I first got this thing, so on, so on, so on. But anyway, whenever I first got it, I put all new brakes underneath the front of it stuff. That was before I started the YouTube channel when I did rebuilding all the brakes. It's got all lifetime warranty parts under it. But when my calipers are trying to lock up, and I need to try to figure out why, I'm going to go ahead and replace the calipers, and I'm going to replace the brake lines and replace the pads and the rotors and like that. Basically just put all new parts in the front of it. But before you replace calipers or wheel cylinders, if you haven't flushed your brakes, brake fluid in a long time, you really should. Simply because you'll see in the video that trash coming through the lines, because I'll show you guys how to make a little bleeder bottle. Super easy to do this by yourself. All it takes is a little drink bottle, which here I'm using a Gatorade bottle. Drill a hole here, drill a small hole there for a vent, which I'll show you guys that here in the video. And that clear tubing right there. That clear tubing right there allows you to see trash and air coming through the line here. It's coming out of your caliper or out of your wheel cylinder. So you really do want to use that clear tubing so you can see what's going on. Now the reason you want to bleed or flush out your brake system before you start changing, putting in new components is simply this. The trash and the fluid in your brake fluid will get into your new parts and cause you issues all over again. You'll see on, well actually you'll see on all of them, a little bit of trash coming out of it, and it's not bubbles, it's like flakes of junk. Why would you even get that in your brake line? It's simple. Brake fluid is hydroscopic. Hydroscopic means the fluid will actually absorb water over time. And per the manual, service manual, stuff like that, you're supposed to flush your brake fluid out every 3 years or so. I think that's what it is. I'd have to look it up for sure, but anyway. Every 3 years or so, you're supposed to flush out all your brake fluid, put new stuff in, because it's hydroscopic, it will absorb water. Well, if it absorbs water into the fluid, you got metal brake lines. You've got your pistons and your calipers are made of metal. You got water and metal. What does that form? Rust. So if you get rust inside your brake lines, rust inside your calipers, stuff like that, next thing you know, that rust is forming junk around the wheel cylinders and the pistons of your calipers, causing you issues. Okay? Step number one, if you got a sticky caliper, bleed out your whole system first before you start changing out, putting new calipers or wheel cylinders in. Therefore, you know you don't introduce more junk into your brand new parts. Okay? So if this is the first time you guys landing on Power Axe YouTube channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because I do these DIY videos to save you money. I do it to Jeeps, cars, motorcycles, tools, all kinds of cool stuff. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and save yourself some money. Let's get on with this. Now here you see the vinyl tubing, which I got at Lowe's, ID 3/16, OD 5/16. I used a 5/16 drill bit. The drill bit is actually just a tad bit smaller than the tubing, which works out real well. So what you do is cut a slight little taper right there. After you drill the hole in the lid, that taper forces it through, and it's a good tight fit. So it should have a good seal when you go to bleed brakes. But you want to push it all the way in to the bottom to where you see it curved like that. Also cut that little taper on the end right there will provide good fluid transfer between the bottle and the tubing. It doesn't get like bottomed out on the right here and cause a vacuum or something. So see it right there. Now first thing you want to do before you start flushing your brake system, adding new fluid, you want to get rid of the old fluid. Pop that thing over. So it goes a little bit low. Take your caps, push them back down like this. There you go. And that looks kind of dark, and that's dark. Definitely due for a change. Now they recommend changing out the brake fluid about every 3 years, because brake fluid is hydroscopic, which means it will absorb water. And I can get into all the functions of why you don't want that to happen, but I'll tell you what, I'll do a video sometime on different types of brake fluid, and I'll explain the hydroscopic thing on another later video. Let's just say if your brake fluid absorbs water, that's a bad thing. And after so long a time it will, and whenever you hit your brakes and you have to ride your brakes for a while, the brakes get hot. water will evaporate, which turns into a gaseous form. Brake fluid does not evaporate, and it's good up to 400 degrees where water is about 212. So if that water gets all starting to evaporate and form a gaseous because it's starting to boil off, it'll create voids in your line and you get a spongy pedal or sometimes even no brakes. So that's it in a nutshell. So I gotta get this right here out. I'm just using a fluid pump here. You just push the pump like this right here, pump it up and down. Just pumping the fluid into the bottle here. Normally you could use a turkey baster to do this. And I was gonna go get one, but I just got called into work and I gotta work tonight, so I've got very limited time to do this. I've got it. I'll show you guys the level. Now you look right there, I don't have all the fluid completely removed on either bowl. And that's simply because I don't want it all out of there, because I don't want to create an air void with inside there. I'm just trying to push out old fluid, not introduce air to the system. So if you stick a rag inside there, soak it all up, you're going to introduce air down inside the master cylinder. That's one more thing you got to push out. So get it till you just got a thin film across the bottom right there, then put new fluid in. Notice the nasty film inside the bowls right there. I took my finger, rub it in, see that? Wipe all that out. You put your .3 fluid in there. You can bring it pretty doggone close to the top. Take your cover and your little boot right here, they're supposed to be pushed inward like that. So once you just kind of push it on the side and push it on the top at the same time, it'll normally help that bellow or that fold go back down inside there. What you want to do is, well, let me explain it first. Whenever you press on your brake to bleed your brakes and to flush new fluid through the system, what's going to happen, this piston down inside there is pumping fluid through the brake lines to the rear, to the fronts, and so on. But also, throughout the point of that pushing down on it and releasing your brake, there's going to be a little geyser that might shoot up out of there. So to protect your paint, what you want to do is simply lay this on top of it. You don't have to snap it back down, just simply lay it on top of it. Now when you bleed your brakes or you flush your brake fluid, adding new fluid through the system, there's a proper way of doing this. Here's your master cylinder, and what you want to do is start at your first location that is the farthest from the master cylinder, which will be there. The passenger side rear wheel cylinder will be the first one that you bleed because it's the farthest from there. Why? Because whenever you push the fluid through the brake lines all the way down the Jeep, then it comes all the way over here, again, that's the farthest distance. So whenever you go to bleed your driver's side rear, you've already flushed the main line, hard line, going all the way down through here to the passenger side here. You've only got a short little bit of fluid left, or distance, to cover for the driver's side. So master cylinder, this one's first, that one's second. I'm pulling back at the driver's side rear. Your next, then you come to your front disc brakes. Which one will be first? Remember I said the farthest from the master cylinder. Master cylinder is located here, so you'll do your passenger side front first. Then after you get the fresh fluid flowing through it, then you'll bounce over to the other side and finish it off. So before you hook your little gadget up to your wheel cylinder, pour your little fluid in right there, because that'll prevent any kind of backflow from going up the hose there and prevent any kind of air or any junk fluid from going up. But we're going to keep watching it until we got nice clean fluid coming through that hose. And there's the wheel cylinder. You see I've already got the bleeder thing cracked loose. At first I started out using the 5/16 wrench, and I kept putting pressure on it. I felt like I was getting to stripping the shoulders off the nut right there, off the bleeder screw. Okay, where's it at in frame? You look real close, that's a 12-point wrench, okay? It's better to use a line wrench. Next best thing is get you a socket, 6-point, get up there, break it loose, then run it back in, just bump it so it's not pouring fluid out. Then you know you got it broke loose well, that you can go do the rest of it with a wrench. So if you have problems breaking it loose, use a 6-point socket. You're less likely to strip out. Come on, focus. You're less likely to strip out the shoulders right there. Okay? Sweet. Alright, let's get all these cameras set up. I'm going to have one camera down here. So make sure that I topped off the master cylinder. Let's go back to the wheel cylinder and hook this baby back up. Now you can see I've got the bleeder screw broke open just enough to allow the fluid to start flowing. It's kind of flowed up the tubing a little bit, and you watch real close, you see bubbles come up every now and then. Because what it's doing is the fluid's pushing up the tube right there, which is kind of behind the worn out shock. Right there is where the fluid's stopped at right now. But whenever I press the brake, what's going to happen is it's going to push the rest of that air out of the line. It's going to go down to the bottle, and you'll see the bubbles popping up right here. But when I turn loose the pedal, it should suck the fluid out of the master cylinder to push it back through the line. Now, anything kind of backlash you get from here is the reason you got fluid in here to prevent any air from feeding back up inside here. So I'm going to set up the GoPro this time, and so you guys can hopefully see what's going on down here. I've got the GoPro knockoff Wi-Fi to my phone, and we're going to go up in the cabin there. We're going to press the brake and see what we can see. What we should see is there in the bottle is bubbles popping out, and hopefully pushing some old fluid through this line right here. And hopefully my Wi-Fi will reach all the way up there. It's the first time I ever using this camera, so I'm not sure what to expect out of it. So let's go find out. Alrighty, let's start pushing the brake pedal. Watch that bottle, see what we get out of it. Push it slow. Okay, you can see it moved a little bit, but we keep pushing. Okay, I've got a decent pedal. You can see the air coming out of the bottle right there. See the air popping up, bleeding that line off. Hopefully it don't fall off the rear diff. Looks like it's about to. Now as you watch my foot right there, you can tell I'm not pushing it fast or hard. Just slow, steady pressure. And I can feel I've got great pedal right now. And we want to keep watching that clear line. Man, I got a massive pedal right there. It feels great. Watch that clear line till you know you got all the bubbles knocked out of it. See, I've got no more bubbles flowing. Oh, there's another one. Now, like an idiot earlier, I forgot to put fluid back in the master cylinder, and yeah, kind of reintroduced air to it. So with that being said, let's check our master cylinder and see where we're at. Don't want to drain the master cylinder, that's a bad thing. Oh, jump out. Check our fluid. Ah, boy, we cut it close. Top that fluid off again. I need to watch what I'm doing instead of watching the camera viewfinder. Make a mess. Here we go. Got that topped off. Let's go hit the pedal a few more times and we might be able to call this one done. And always be sure to put the lid back on your brake fluid because you don't want no contaminants falling into it. You know, like bird poop from the tree above me or something. Yeah, there's that. Alright, let's get back in the Jeep. It's hard to carry two phone and camera and everything and jump in this thing. Because when it looks at that bottle, it's barely, you see right there? Of course, you can see it on your screen there. The bottle's like it's barely hanging on that diff. Alright, let's press the brake a few more times. I see the bubble. Man, this Wi-Fi thing going to your phone so you can watch that line is like freaking awesome. Really helps a lot when you're out here by yourself doing stuff. I mean, I got friends, all I gotta do is make a phone call, say, hey dude, come on over, help me bleed this, and they would come running. Now you can watch the fluid there, the Gatorade bottle, as it fills up. Man, I've got a solid pedal right there. Now look at the clear line I've got hooked to the wheel cylinder. Look how clear it is now versus when we started. It had that brown dingy look to it. Look how clear it is on that tube hose now. You know, I just realized what I was doing. I was watching the viewfinder, through the viewfinder, It wasn't showing pushing the pedal. But here's what I was doing. I was just pushing the pedal. But you can see how clear that brake fluid is in that clear line now. That is what we're after. We've got all the old brake fluid out from the master cylinder all the way back to the wheel cylinder done. So what we need to do at this point is go back there and tighten up that wheel cylinder, the fitting, and pull that off, drain off some of your fluid, and hook it to the other side, to the driver's side. Let's go do that. Okay, here we are back at the rear diff again, and what we're going to do is take our wrench here and turn it, just give it a bump snug there, because I'm going to take my socket and actually tighten it, because this wheel cylinder is old and those fittings get kind of cruddy and crappy and gets easily stripped. So just give it a bump snug so it doesn't lose fluid. Then we're going to pull this off, and I'm going to try to pinch it off as best I can to prevent no dumping fluid all down my arm and stuff. And then we're going to pull the bottle out and all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, I'm going to set the camera down. But basically all I'm doing is pulling this off and go drain down some of the fluid here so we can go to that side. And just as a side note, that little camera right there linking to my phone is just, dude, it's just cool. Which my Sony Action Cam does it as well, but my Sony Action Cam was being a pain in the tail. I've had that camera right there for a long time, just never used it, never even opened it out of the pack. I've had it for close to probably 4 or 5 months. I thought, you know what, today's the day to try it. I'll link it up down below in the description if you guys want to check it out. Seriously, it's a sweet camera and not crazy expensive. Now once you get the bottle pulled off, take your fitting, and you want a 6-point socket or a 6-point wrench, whatever, to tighten it up with. That really lessens the possibility of you damaging the fitting, because it's so easy to do on these old parts. And don't crank it super tight, because I mean, what I was doing, the pressure, if I were to apply it, okay, socket's locked on there. Basically what I was doing, my fingers stretching here, my palms stretching there, and I was just kind of flexing my wrist. Is about all I'm doing. I'm not like throwing the He-Man or Wheaties at it. Flexing my wrist, bump it, you're good. Because what you want to do once it's all said and done, you want to push your brake. After you get everything bled, come back, push your brake, and see if you get any fluid leakage anywhere. Alright, let's go to the other side real quick. I mean, it's the same as this side, so really, honestly, it would just make this video excessively long for me to do that. So what I'll do is, I'm going to knock off the other side real quick, and I might do a little video shot or something. But then when we go to the front calipers, that's when we do another detailed one on the calipers. Okay, before we get started, let's top off the fluid on this side. That is so important to make sure you always, constantly, probably about every 5, 6, 7 pedal pumps, something like that, be sure to jump out and check it, because what you don't want to do is run it dry and suck air back into the system. I mean, fresh fluid here, that's still some dirty fluid. This is your front side. This is your front discs, and this is your wheel cylinders in the back. You can see the difference in the color already. Speaking of difference of color, look at that nasty crap. That's what I'm pushing out of the lines. Nasty. But the beauty of it is, every time I push the brake pedal down and I bring it back up, it's sucking fluid from here and not pulling it from here. This is nothing more than a check valve per se to prevent you from pulling air back into the line. So whenever you push the pedal down, it's pushing air or fluid into this. Whenever you bring the pedal back up, it's sucking fluid from here. Okay. All right, let's go back driver's side rear. Okay, you can see from the fluid loss I've got it broke loose. Then I snugged it back up so I wouldn't lose any fluid putting the hose on. But now that I've got the hose on it, crack it loose again, just enough to see the fluid start rolling out. Right there, man, it's going to be good enough right there. The only thing you're after is before the fluid start rolling out. Now, in the event that you're doing this, you push it on and you're getting fluid come from around the threads of the wheel cylinder, what you may have to do is pull the fitting completely out and put some grease around it, then put it back in. That grease will act as a thread sealant to prevent the fluid from coming around the threads. And oops, wrong way. So you can see how I've got this rigged up. The main thing of it is, so you can see the fluid coming up on top of it right there, and you see bubbles popping up right there because it's bleeding the air out of the line, out of that clear plastic tubing. Before we push the pedal, just remember, make sure, just a little bit hooking that tube up. Look how much we lost. Lost at least a good quarter inch of fluid there. So top it off. And whenever you're doing a brake flush like this, get you a couple bottles of fluid, because the bottle we're working with now is a 32 ounce and I'm at least 2/3 through it. So let's go push a pedal. Here we are back underneath the Jeep, and you can see right here the dirty sediment in the bottom of the bottle and clear up top. That's all that junk that's inside the brake lines. Now we're going to tighten this right here up, then we'll put our 6-point right there back on it, and we'll be good to go. We'll move to the front. Top my fluid off in the master cylinder for the rears. Look at the difference in the color. Nice, clear, yucky. And look at my bottle. That's all that nasty stuff coming out of the brake lines. Alright, so I'm going to pour some of this out so I don't fill up the bottle too much, and we're going to go to the fronts. Oh, as a little side note about pouring out your fluid and stuff, don't just pour it on the ground. Get you some kind of container, whether it be a bucket, jug, or something like that to pour your fluid into. That way you can take it to your local recycling center. Most auto parts actually have a bin in the back that you can pour fluids into, so you don't dump it on the ground. You help the environment, protect the little rabbits and the birds, you know, birds and the bees, or yeah, protect that, yeah. Now I poured out all the old junky looking fluid. You do not have to do that. Like I said, the fluid is nothing more than kind of like a check valve to prevent air from going back up the tube. But the reason I did this is simply because whenever I bleed or whenever I flush out the fronts, we're going to get a before and after of how clean the fluid is here. And this is brand new fluid. Then after we push out all the old junk from the front wheel cylinders, or calipers, should I say, see how nasty it gets. The one thing you want to do to make life a little bit easier for yourself, since your brake caliper is on the back side of the wheel, about right there where my finger's at. I don't know if the lighting in the viewfinder is showing where I'm pointing, but that's where your caliper's at. So if you take your wheel, turn it all the way out this way, that gives you easier access to that caliper. Get your tools ready. And right there is your caliper. Right here is your bleeder screw. Pop the little rubber cap off. Set it somewhere where you won't lose it. Then you're going to take, and that's the wrong size socket, so I got to get another socket. Be right back. Got the proper size socket, and just in case I didn't say what it was earlier, because I haven't went through the footage yet, the rear wheel cylinders was a 5/16, and the front calipers 3/8. Put your socket on and gently pull and just break it loose. That's all we're after. And let's see, I'm not going to back it out to the point it's losing fluid quite yet, not intentionally anyway. So right there I just got a little bump snug on it. Now I'm going to hook up my hose. If I knock the bottle off the leaf. Alright, y'all see what I'm doing, but I need the other hand. Alrighty, we got the hose all hooked up, and again, like I mentioned before, your main objective is, here's your bleeder screw, and notice the hose right here, it's above. If you was to project a line perpendicular, it's above this. That's your main objective. Got to make sure it's above that, because that way gravity is working in your favor. Then crack that screw loose till we get fluid rolling out of it. Now I can already see trash coming out of that caliper. Right through there I can see trash coming out of it, and that explains why I'm having brake issues. What I'm doing is we're going to rebuild all my front brakes, because I'm having a lot of issues with this caliper over here locked up on me the other day. And so why am I bleeding the brakes before I change calipers? That is a very good question, because notice all the old junk coming out that we got in the bottle before, all that black crap. I'm going to put new calipers and everything on it. What I don't want is all that old junk to get inside the new calipers. So flush all new fluid through the system Therefore, when I put the new calipers on, I push new fluid into the calipers. It never sees old fluid at all. So if you're going to change out a brake caliper, something like that, the best thing you can do is change out all your fluid first, then change out to your new braking components. Therefore, it never sees old junk. All right, got my hose hooked up, got my camera set up, got my Wi-Fi link going on. Let's jump in the Jeep and push a pedal. All right, put your foot on the brake. Slowly push. You see the bubbles at the bottom of the bottle. That's also why I put new fluid in there, so you guys can see this whole thing in action. Okay, pedal stopped. Hold it, pause for a second. Let it back out slow. Okay, let's push again. Now take note the fluid that's in the clear hose right there. Notice how yellow it is. Push your pedal in slow. See the bubbles at the bottom of the bottle? Okay, pedal just stopped. Release pedal slow. Push again. Push in slow. Pedal stopped. Pedal back out slow. All the way to the top. Now push it again. Push pedal in slow. Stop. Pedal back slow. Now let's jump out real quick and check the fluid in the master cylinder, because the front calipers take a lot more fluid than the rear wheel cylinders do. Okay, we're still good. But since I'm out here, I've only got a little bit of fluid left in this bottle anyway, so I might as well do it. And right there, of what we've done so far, is one full bottle, 32-ounce bottle I just went through. But I do have another bottle waiting and ready. All right, push pedal some more. Alrighty, push the pedal slowly. Pause. Bring your foot back up slow. Push slowly. Now if you watch the Gatorade bottle real close, you can see the fluid level rise even though I'm not getting any more bubbles. Not getting any more bubbles is a good thing. Okay, bring your pedal back slow. Push. Push it in slow, don't force it, just let it do its thing. The pedal's going down pretty slow now. Also, it depends on how much you've got the bleeder screw cracked as to how easy the pedal's going to be pushed. I believe I need to go out to open my bleeder screw just a little bit more. Okay, you see where I hang the wrench right there on the bleeder screw? The weight of the wrench is holding it open just a little bit more. Because of the torsional twist of the clear hose right there, it's wanting to close the bleeder valve back off. So the way that wrench is holding it open for me just a little bit. Okay, let's push the pedal a little bit more. There we go. Pedal's a little bit easier now. Bring it back slow. Push. Bring it back slow. A lot of it, when I did the wrench down there, the fluid's actually come through pretty clear at this point. It looks dark because of the lighting down there. Okay, so we're about halfway right now, but it ain't gonna hurt to top it off since we out here. Okay, let's go look at the hose real quick and see what it would look like there. Yeah, I mean, it's a lighting thing because that right there is so much clearer looking at it from this direction. And you can see the fluid in the bottle right here. You've got some sediment down here at the bottom. It's getting clear up top right here. I'm sure it's partly where we put the new fluid in there. But looking at it right here, with the light coming through, hitting the concrete right there, that stuff is as clear as it can be. So let's go ahead and lock this baby off and we'll go to the other side. Okay, I just snug it up with a wrench, that's all I'm doing. Take the wrench off. What I'm going to do is take my bottle, now I'm going to drop it below the bleeder screw like this. Pull my hose off. And my bottle fell over. Dang it, come on. Pull the bleeder hose off and hold it up like this. Let all that excess drain down to the bottle. That way it minimizes your mess. And snug it back up. Look, my fingers are here, thumb's here. I'm not like manhandling it. Hang your fingers here, thumb here, and turn it the wrong way. Whoops. Okay, try that again. Palm here, finger here. And just don't put no hard weight into it. You don't want it crazy tight. There you go. That side's done. Now let's put our cap back on, and you're good to go. Ta-da! Same old scenario. Set it up. Break your bleeder screw loose till you got a little bit of fluid rolling through. You see, I tightened it to stop the flow. Turn it back to turn on the flow. And you can see a little bit of trash coming through right there. It's stuff like that inside your lines that'll get inside your calipers and cause your calipers to start locking up. Stop again. You see the trash coming out? That is not air. That's like total junk trash coming through it. Okay, let's set the bottle back up. And it's got to go above that. Because you got to have that loop going up right there to prevent air from rolling back in it. And there's just so much trash rolling out of those calipers. I'm having problems with my brakes locking up on me. Not locking up, but it's like I push the brake and the caliper doesn't want to release. And so all that trash coming out of that fluid right there can be a major indication of it as to why. Alrighty, let's bleed this one out. Okay, there's our fluid. That line is like super clear. And so what we're going to do is tighten that baby off and call it. We have bled the brakes. Just give it a little snug. Like I said, I'm not a fan of wrenches cranking down on those because I've stripped too many of them out doing that. Take your bottle, set it down below the level, pull the tube off, let the fluid drain into the bottle. Then we'll take our socket, And hopefully turn it the right way this time. Again, hang your fingers here, thumb here, and just snug it up good. Don't crank it. Good to go. Now with those few pedal presses, you can see that we've lost a little bit of fluid, so let's top the fluid back off one more time. Get your rag and go around this edge right through here. Make sure that's all nice and clean. You see the junk that's on that. Make sure the edge of that's clean. Make sure your gasket here, can't see what's going on. Make sure that's clean. Put your cap back on. And then you will be done bleeding your brakes. There's one thing I want to point out about the cap. Whenever I drilled this right here to put this hose in, drill you a little tiny hole right there too, maybe like 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 inch, or somewhere in that ballpark. This size right here isn't totally important. You just want a little tiny hole to release pressure inside the bottle. And the reason is why, as you've seen, as the bottle got more and more fluid inside of it, if you didn't have some way to bleed off air pressure within inside the bottle, it would form a positive air pressure in the top of the bottle and want to force the fluid back up the hose. So put your little bit tiny vent hole up top right here to allow it to bleed off air pressure above the fluid as it fills up. Therefore, it doesn't build up that air pressure and try to push it back up the hose. Okay? Drill the proper size hose here, hole here for your hose, and a little vent hole there, and you're good to go. See? Easy. So what about a Power Axe crew? Did you guys learn something from that video? If you did, thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. See? These videos like this will save you money by doing the job yourself and not paying these high dollar mechanic bills. I mean, sometimes shop rates can run as cheap as, $50 an hour, but it's not uncommon for shop rates to hit over $100 an hour. So you want to save yourself some money, learn how to do this stuff yourself, and that's why I make these videos. Okay? Cool. So remember, if you're going to be changing out wheel cylinders or calipers and stuff, put fresh fluid in the system before you even start. Get rid of all the water, get rid of all the trash in your system before you even start replacing parts. That will save you a lot of headache on the back end, I promise, okay? Trust me. Ask me how I know. Been there, done that. So everyone, appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Peace out. Later, y'all.